Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm sure that you've heard this phrase. Your parents probably said it when you were a kid. Honesty is the best policy. Can't argue with that. What about radical honesty? I don't know what that is. We're going to learn what that is. And especially from somebody that helps people pilot their lives forward and have aha moments and overcome challenges and gives them the courage to shine, which is the title of her book. She is the woman behind Directions for Wellness. She's an amazing life coach, helping people who are stuck, burned out, and so much more. And it's great to have her back here as our professional of the year. Sara Regester is on the program. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm good. And I'm excited about this conversation today.
Did I say that right? Is it radical honesty?
Radical honesty. It's come out of, well, always personally, what can I learn about myself and what can I share with others? And so when we had an earlier conversation on another show about self-care versus indulgence and really healing our heart, and made me think a little more, a little deeper. And so when I think of radical honesty, it's like, how can I be more truthful and honest with myself? And like sobriety, clarity, what's my truth? How can I speak my truth? But it also connects with those that we're engaging with in our conversations. How often are we not 100% honest, or we're holding back, or we're afraid to confront someone, or we're trying to protect, not wanting to be judged or worried about what people think. And so there's so often that I look back and I think of all the times I wasn't honest with myself and with others, and the stress that caused of having that lack of authenticity in how I was showing up and how I was connecting with others. So it was a lot of stress for me around that, hiding and kind of bluffing my way through things rather than just being upfront and direct.
Do you find that when we are not radically honest, the mode of that becomes our norm? So you're not fully authentic, and you're so used to changing the way you think, changing what you say, even to the point of maybe, you say something to this person over here, but you got to be careful not to say the same thing over there, because if they both know they don't like each other, so you're trying to make peace between the two of them, but you're really not being your authentic self because you're trying to keep them both happy.
Mm-hmm.
You get like swamped up in this whole tornado of, I don't know if I want to say dishonesty, but in a way it is dishonest. You're not being fully transparent and honest. I guess you're being dishonest, even to yourself.
Yeah, and with that, how often we might be motivated to say what we want, what we think people want to hear, or to come across like, we're okay, or even a casual, like, how are you today? Oh, I'm good. When
Well,
maybe
yeah.
we're not.
Yep.
So there's something about that in the moment, catching myself at the times when I recognize, okay, I need to be honest here. Can I really, really say what I think? Can I be courageous enough to just put it out there and, be transparent and let people see my reality? And it takes courage, and it can be stressful, all the energy that we lose when we're trying to like mask the truth or push away from, some connection that actually could be quite strong because we deflect or we avoid or, distract. And all those ways we lack honesty within as well as in our connection with others.
Do you think ultimately it comes down to fear?
Yeah, fear of not being liked, fear of being judged, when in the end, I'm judging myself if
Mm,
I'm filtering what I say or what I don't say. We're our worst judges, even though we
yeah,
fear what other people think.
it's a whole big thing that gets, the proverbial can of worms that gets opened up where, you it's almost like a snowball effect. If you're not fully honest with yourself and maybe totally with others, and you'll always make up reasons for it. Like I just said before, this is true. I have two friends. They don't really like each other for a number of different reasons. So, like, I feel uncomfortable when I'm hanging with one. I don't invite the other one because I don't want to hear it from this one back and forth, back and forth. After a while, like, it's like a lot of work. Like, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't know what the answer is in that situation. It should be like, you guys work it out and leave me out of this. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I want to hang out with both of you at the same time. Um, no, maybe that's what I need to do. Let them take care of it because I have nothing more I can do.
Yeah, that's true. That filter, where is that filter actually like a protection that actually pushes people away or keeps us from a heart connection with someone? And I don't mean just relationship, partnership, heart to heart communication, but I mean even with those key people in our lives, whether it's our family or the significant coworkers, like how can I keep my heart open to really listen, to support someone, to like show up, hold
Mm.
space, and give like a truthful, honest reflection, back. And that's a real skill to be able to do that.
Do you feel also we don't know the benefits of this until we do it and be radically honest? So then we don't do it. But if you could just live in the future of being radically honest, what you would experience, what that would feel like, how authentic and whole you might feel, we probably would be jump on board this thing before I can finish this sentence because it's just so perfect. But it's not easy. How do you get the courage to really live fully transparent and honest?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's very liberating when we can be honest and transparent with people. And there's something that individuals are really afraid of confrontation. Like confrontation somehow has a bad rap that if you're being confronted, it's a bad thing.
Mm,
But actually, if we look through the lens of being honest and you confront someone in a truthful but caring way, giving them an illumination or a reflection about their behavior, a pattern, something they're doing that isn't working for you, like this kind of confrontation, to have the courage to actually speak it with care to someone actually can be an empowerment that, it's like, I'm just going to let that land. I'm going to be honest. And then that individual can take what they will from what I've shared. But
mm,
in the end, it's like not me trying to fix someone. I'm not trying to step into their drama circle. But there's something when we say to someone, you're always going into blame on this topic. What part can you do with this?
mm.
you know, might be an example of being honest, of like, you're always hearing the blame, but let's turn it around and, how can I support you to kind of take another look from another angle? That might be,
Uh,
radically honest.
so what's the starting point? Let's say this resonates for someone and they're thinking, I can see this now that life is harder because I'm not being radically honest. Um, how do you begin this journey of kind of cleaning things up?
I think it starts with self-awareness,
Mm,
taking a breath, dropping in to your center. So that anchoring myself is really important, as well as getting out of the inner dialogue of what are they going to think? Is it going to land? But really trusting what your gut says and speaking from that voice of wisdom. And
mm.
I think too, like navigating relationships, how much we skirt around the honesty because we're so afraid that what I might share actually will be rejected.
Yep.
And that fear of rejection, fear of betrayal, like these are really core wounding things that will cause us to say the white lies or to hold back our truth or to be complacent with something that we actually are not so happy with.
It seems like a case of the what ifs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you start thinking, if you put it through the honesty filter as you go through your day, let's say "Look, tomorrow's a new day, but to start fresh, I'm going to look at everything I do, everything I say, and is it really radically honest? And you start putting it through that filter and you start noticing those, "Yeah, well, and I'm not really being honest about that situation or that one. There's a reason I'm not being honest. You always have a reason.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think it ultimately comes back to, well, what if I am honest, then what if this happens? And what if that happens? And just courage to shine. You need courage to get
You,
past that.
you do because it's very vulnerable to really be, I could say brutally honest or like transparently honest.
Hmm.
That there's something really vulnerable about in those one-on-one conversations to really share the truth or my point of view, even though it might not be what you agree with. And
Hmm.
how can we hold space for each other to disagree and just hear each other? Whereas I think that's the bigger energetic of the polarizing kind of energy that's happening around us is people are like afraid to say anything because they don't want to cause ripples. But it's one thing and we're out in the bigger collective, but it's so important for us in our one-on-one or immediate circle to be really have that mindfulness of being clear, being transparent, being honest, and speaking truthfully to each other, and be able to hold space for the other person to do the same.
Hmm.
That's honesty.
Yeah. And I can see this here too with the
Mhm.
confrontation because confrontation could be a good thing, but many of us fear it. And there's going to be a little bit of confrontation if you're fully honest. Um,
Mhm.
how do you know that you're being truly authentic overall? Now, I get these are some obvious things if, you're bending things a little bit here and there in terms of the honesty situation. But by and large, how would you describe that feeling when you nailed it, when you are as authentic as it's going to get?
For me, I feel a little squirmy inside, like a little like maybe I might question myself, or I might like say, okay, here I go, almost like taking a running leap. Okay, I'm gonna say it, and let it land. That's one way. But on the other hand, when I'm with my students, in that environment, I want to be transparent to show them like I'm not on a pedestal. I'm not like trying to be better than anybody. I'm like right in here with you in the trenches, making mistakes or, recognizing where my mind is not so open or taking in another point of view. So there's a balance there of externally being transparent and honest as we present ourselves, but really truthfully being honest with ourselves internally where we recognize that we're off or where we didn't speak to someone else with care or a co-empower way, or where is it that I'm like holding back rather than just being forthcoming with what's really going to keep things clean and clear and open.
Do you
Oh, it's a
feel
dance.
it is? Yeah, it's a delicate. But then, when you, I got a visual of a happy dance when we were talking about being authentic, just that feeling
Mhm.
of just light and airy. It's it's hard to get there. It's hard to get there when and I'm thinking of this too. I'm a big proponent of this. You can spot somebody who's phony if they're not being genuine. But even the little tiny things that we're talking about here, people might not know that you're not being honest, but energetically, it's a little bit off,
Mhm.
just a little bit off. And that can set other things in motion of, call it the proverbial monkey wrench thrown into the gears. You might not even realize not being fully honest and transparent because of your reasons, whatever there might, I don't want this person to be mad, whatever that it is, there's always a reason. That energetically it's throwing things off anyway. Does that make sense?
It will. If you're truly listening to someone and present and holding space, you will sense when the words aren't matching the nonverbal.
Yeah.
And there's even a part of us, um, we have eyes and ears within our luminosity beyond these and these.
Hmm.
So when we're really connected with someone, we can really feel the energy when it's off. We can really sense when someone is not being forthcoming with the truth in
Yeah.
terms of how maybe they're trying to be pleasing or to say something to us that's, compliant or conforming or somehow holding back.
Yeah.
And mhm.
Something's off. Something's slightly off when there's a little bit of I don't I'm struggling with dishonesty. I don't want to say that, but essentially is it if you're not radically honest, are you dishonest?
Well, this is a good question because it always peels back the layer of the onion because there is something, another mode that I don't know if it'll confuse our conversations, but there is something that I would name controlled folly that, I might put a mask on purpose to hide something about myself because it's going to protect the conversation or it's going to put on a professional front or, there's times like in a professional setting when maybe we do want to appear like we have it all together and we have the solution and we're totally, on target, where maybe inside we're not feeling that way. And I'm not talking about times when we intentionally kind of put on a mask to fake it till we make it. I'm talking about more the subtlety, like I use a word often called sobriety. And in our culture, sobriety means probably without alcohol, without marijuana,
Hmm.
that kind of sobriety. But there's also a sobriety of where am I tapped into the stream of truth to see reality as it is without fantasy, without blowing smoke on things, without kidding myself. Like, where can I anchor in to just see what's really true with a clear, sober mind? And so this is kind of the energetic when I say being radically honest is where I can see, okay, this is where I need to actually take action, or here's this habit I keep doing that's disempowering, or like that kind of radical honesty is also inward. So I can see what it is I need to do to kind of heal
Mm.
or evolve or refine my character or somewhere where I can actually be so honest to see the truth within myself that that is how I put myself out more authentically from that place of really owning, taking responsibility for what it is that my words are, what my actions are. Like that's another layer of radical honesty, is how we're really taking responsibility and not just putting it on someone else, waiting for someone else to take care of us or blaming someone. It's not our fault.
Thanks for bringing that up because it's the one thing I got was clarity that, with that word in all of this. And if somebody's not sober, there's something preventing them from having full clarity. Maybe it's alcohol, let's just say, for demonstration purposes. If it's not full honesty, there's something clouding things up, if you will. And, you're not fully sober in terms of, the situation. But when you strip that all away and this is the real deal, this is the honest situation, take it or leave it if you need to say that, whatever it is, it's pure. You've now reduced it to a pure situation and let the chips fall where they may, I guess.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. How do you help somebody work through um, being authentic and eventually, I guess, being radically honest?
Well, I think one of the first steps is just to allow ourselves to make mistakes, allow ourselves to learn from the mistakes we make.
Hmm.
And part of the dishonesty is when we're trying to cover up our mistakes or deny our mistakes, or we throw out everything as bad and don't take in what actually the good parts were of something that we would have done. And so there's something in the maturity of taking responsibility for your mistakes that helps you stay honest with yourself. And then I would say also, when we pay attention to that inner dialogue, how often the inner dialogue opens the door to the shame, blame, and guilt. That what I call the itty bitty shitty committee is like running around and help that it's we're not seeing the truth when we're seeing it through the lens of shame, blame, and guilt. So that's the radical honesty is like if I peel away those layers and see the truth of what really happened,
Mhm.
what am I really learning for this? Or where am I really not owning my full self-worth of what is my measure, my self-acceptance? That these are the layers that peel away when we're honest, is we can truly see the pride in what I actually did well or what I learned that is often hidden by the inner voice that goes into the shame, blame, and guilt dialogue.
Gotcha.
Like,
Yeah.
that is like a lack of honesty because we start to believe it and then we start to own it. And then we have the filter of I'm not enough, not good enough. And it's just not true. It's not being honest with, hey, I'm a work in progress. I'm a human being. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to take responsibility for my life. And this is a layer of how we're being honest with ourselves, is being real.
I've always been, well, in my journey in the last 5 years, realizing these things from our childhood and why we do what we do, why we say what we say. And you got that, you got to work on those things that are holding you back. Never saw it though, how it's impeding your honesty,
Mhm.
even the honesty with yourself, because you listen to the voices and then that almost gives you the fuel to, let me bend the truth just a little bit, tiny bit, just to keep peace with everybody. You're not really being fully honest, and you're not being authentic. And I feel there's a little bit eating away at you inside.
Mhm.
You don't even realize it.
Yes. And that shame, blame, and guilt, the pain patterns and the stories that we repeat until we believe it as our truth, that is takes us the full loop back to where we talked about self-care versus self-indulgence. And so to numb out to those negative emotions and how we see ourselves and our self-concepts is often where we indulge in the activities that sabotage our best self, that sabotage our authenticity. Whether it's overeating or the extra drink or the scrolling on the phone, whatever, we all have our habits. But when it's going to the numbing out and the indulgent, I'm going to help myself feel better. I'm going to get that little dopamine surge when I go get the Instagram likes. That those patterns, it takes that radical honesty to root out when I'm doing that so that I can rein it in and choose a more productive way to support myself that's truly nourishing with self-care, that heals my heart, feeds my spirit. And those kind of choices are the new patterns to wire.
This was very uncomfortable talking about this today because I'm sure all of us, when you take a moment and you analyze life and situations, probably not being radically honest. That's reality. And it's almost like this is your superpower. You are the mirror. Here you go. This is who you are. I'm not judging you, but take a look. This is really who you are. Have you got that? All right. Let me take the mirror down and let's work on that. What's the best way? And by the way, your book is fantastic. Courage to Shine. That's kind of what we're all talking about here.
Mhm.
Best way to find you. What's your website?
Yeah, my website is directions, the number 4wellness.com. And if you go to the contact tab, you can reach out to me by email and come right into my email box. And there's all kinds of resources there, including links to my book, Courage to Shine.
Including what we're talking about today in the blog section, if you want to check that out.
Yeah, the blog just went out this morning. It's brand new.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to be radically honest in saying that I love having you on here and just the insight and the value that you bring for all of us. And it's very important stuff. Once you start realizing this and nailing it, your life will change for the better. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, well, I've been there too. So
Yeah,
I'm in there with you.
Work in progress.
Okay. A
All
work
right.
in progress.
We'll catch up next time.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.